Good evening, hockey fans. Welcome back on to the Neutral Zone here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Got a lot of hockey to get into in tonight's show. 4 playoff games in action tonight. Might we see some first-round series end tonight? Could Toronto possibly knock out Ottawa? This is their second chance at it. Might we see some defense played throughout in Carolina and New Jersey? Might the Hurricanes knock off the Devils? Well, the Devils are certainly giving them a go through 2 periods. What could possibly happen next in Los Angeles between the Kings and the Oilers? I mean, everything else has happened in that series. So much to go through with those going on there. Some news for non-playoff teams as well. The Pittsburgh Penguins have joined the ranks of 6 other NHL teams in that they need a new head coach. Is this a day later and $1 short for Pittsburgh? Or is this just the right time? We'll discuss that as well. And the PWHL, well, they announced a couple weeks ago that they were getting to Vancouver, and it sounds like there's another team about to join the Women's Hockey League. We'll talk about that as well. All that plus more coming up right here, right now on the Neutral Zone. Do not go anywhere. Let's have some fun. And good evening, everyone. Welcome back on into the Neutral Zone. I am your host, Adam Karnick. So glad that you are here with us. Got a lot to go through on the show tonight. Zach Puplis has got most of the night off. He might be along with us a little later on, but he had some stuff going on. So for a little while, it is just you and me. We've got a lot to go through on tonight's show. We have got 4 playoff games going on at the moment. We'll check in on each of those. Some wild stuff going on there. We've got some storylines behind each of these teams that we'll check in on, see how things are going there as well. And then we've got some non-playoff news as well. We now are up to 7 teams in the NHL that are looking for new head coaches. So we'll get some updates there from across the NHL world. And then the Professional Women's Hockey League, their regular season is also getting ready to wrap up. They've got a little less than a week to go. This Saturday will be it for their regular season. We'll check in on how their teams are doing, but then also they are expanding as well. Vancouver joined a couple weeks ago, and it looks like there's going to be an 8th city coming up right on the horizon as well. Lots to get to on the show here tonight. Not a whole lot of time to do it. This is the Neutral Zone. Buckle on in. Let's head into that zone, avoid the boards, and protect that 5-hole. We're going to take a quick break to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll dive right into playoff hockey. Be right back after this. Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Kernick back with you. Want to say thank you to each and every one of our sponsors for making this show and making the network possible as well. Shout out and thank you again to Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Vital Apparel, and Seal the Deal Wax Seals, and of course, IE Sports Radio. You just heard there the IE Sports Radio available on all the major social media platforms. This show is also available for you on social media. We are available on Twitter at IESR Neutral Zone. I am at Adam_Kernick. Zach, when he is here, is at The Pupless. All right, so let's dive into the show tonight, shall we? We've got 4 playoff games in action across the NHL tonight. The Senators currently all over the Maple Leafs 3-0 with just over 2 minutes left to go in regulation, despite the Maple Leafs outshooting Ottawa 26-18. We've Thomas Chabot, Dylan Cozens, and then Tim Stutzel have all scored for the Senators in that one. We'll get back to that one here in a little bit. The Senators already have one empty net goal, but it looks like they might get another as the Leafs have pulled their goalie yet again in this one. They have taken Stolarz out of the game again for the second time already. Meanwhile, with about 15 and a half minutes left to go in regulation, the Devils and Hurricanes are in a massive shootout going on right now, 4-4 at the end of 2. The Devils got out to as high as a 3-0 lead in this one before the Hurricanes came storming back to get it tied up at 3. Then New Jersey pulled ahead 4-3, and then Sebastian Aho tied it right about halfway through the second period. So a lot of scoring early in this one. The Hurricanes, they're on a power play here, up 3-1 in this series, so they might be able to close the door on the Devils here in this one. We're about to get underway out in Vegas. The Wild and the Golden Knights tied at 2 apiece in their series. They're going to be dropping the puck anytime now. And then later on tonight, the Oilers and the Kings will be set to drop the puck as well. That series also tied at 2 at this point. And I wanted to start with that Los Angeles Edmonton series because that's been kind of nuts. That series has been bizarre. You could easily make the argument and the case that series should be done and over with. Good evening to Taryn Rodriguez and also to Glenn Ritter. Good evening to both of you guys. Thank you very much. Yeah, we're going to do our best to hold it down here and have a great show here tonight. Thank you for watching. If you are watching tonight across YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, hop on into the chat, drop us a line, let us know that you're here. We'll have some fun doing the show together. Or if you just want to sit back and listen, I am here for that as well. However I can entertain you, I'm just glad you're here. So the Los Angeles Kings, they just keep forgetting that these games against the Oilers are supposed to be 60 minutes long, that there are, in fact, 3 periods to be played in regulation in each of these games. The home team has won all 4 games. Like all the series in the West, this series is tied at 2. Every single series in the West is guaranteed to go 6. We've had one series already play game 5, but all 4 of them at one point were tied at 2 after the 4th game of their series. Home team has won each game in this one so far. Let's go back to game 3 this past Friday night, though. Let's start there. The Kings got themselves a little bit of a rocky start. Edmonton playing at home, getting juiced up in front of the Oiler crowd, getting a little hyped up, got out to a quick 2-0 lead. Nugent Hopkins and Bouchard, a couple of quick goals, get the frenzy going. Kempe got him halfway back into it right near the end of the first period. And then that second period just dominated by the Kings. Fiala, Doughty, Moore all get goals. Yes, Brown got one kind of sandwiched in between there for Edmonton, but it was 4-3 Los Angeles at the end of 2. And you're thinking, all right, Los Angeles has kind of got the momentum here. Boy, they take game 3. They could really put the screws into Edmonton on this series. All right. Well, then they played the third period. And my goodness, Edmonton just came out full guns blazing. Evander Kane, Bouchard, McDavid, Brown again, all scoring in the third period. 13 shots on net for the Oilers against just 8 for the Kings in that third period. Now, 2 of the goals were empty net goals. So you're not, if you're the Kings, it's not that Kemper gave up 7 goals. He still gave up 5, which isn't great. Four of them at even ice. Double checked it. 4 of them. No, I'm sorry. 3 of them on even ice. So, all right. Okay. This one got away from us. That can happen against Edmonton. All right. That can happen when you're playing a team like Edmonton, but surely everything will be locked in and loaded for game 4, right? And again, for 40 minutes, that's exactly what it looked like had happened in game 4. The Kings came out to play in game 4. Getting out, it was 1-0 after 1, but that really does not describe the first period. The first period was dominated by the Kings. 14 shots on net against just 6 for the Oilers. The Kings living in the offensive zone all throughout. It was a miracle, frankly, if you were Edmonton. It was miraculous that the Oilers weren't down more. Pickard had himself a really, really Herculean effort in that first period to keep Edmonton in it. But then it just continued to go Los Angeles's way in the second period. Fagel with a terrific goal early in the second period to right away get it up to 2 goals. Corey Perry with a power play that, all right, maybe that'll get Edmonton back into it. No, Los Angeles again jumping out, dominating, really feeling in charge, feeling in command in that game. And then Fiala, just the icing on the cake with a third goal before the halfway mark of the period. From there out, the goalkeeping picked up on both sides and it settled into a nice routine. It was 3-1 at the end of 2. And you're thinking, no way can this happen 2 games in a row to Los Angeles, right? Right? They've got to be able to hold on to one of these leads, haven't they? They've got to be able to make this stand up. Nope. Not so. Evan Bouchard, a pair of goals in the third period. The Oilers absolutely came out blitzing the Kings. 16 shots on goal in the third period. The Oilers only had 15 in the first 40 minutes of the game. Bouchard manages to tie it, including the game tying goal with just 29 seconds left in regulation. Overtime, again, Edmonton just wave after wave after wave after wave, working their way through the Kings. 17 more shots on goal in the overtime period. Again, the Kings have been doing everything right for the first 40 minutes. Then the final, effectively 40 minutes of the game, it was all Edmonton. And eventually then Leon Draisaitl on the power play gets the game-winning goal. And instead of the Kings, at the very least, up 3-1, or possibly even sweeping Edmonton out of the first round, we're now going back to Edmonton, tied at 2 games apiece, and seemingly all the momentum with the Oilers in this game coming in tonight. If you're the Kings coming into this game tonight, and I'm just making sure that I've got some of the names in here correct. So you're headed back now to Los Angeles. Excuse me. I think I said Edmonton. You're headed back now to Los Angeles. You've got to feel like your back's up against it. That even though you still have home, you haven't surrendered your home ice advantage. You haven't given up any of your advantages yet in this playoffs. You got to feel like you're up against it. You haven't played a complete game since game 2. And really game 1, was a bit back and forth. Thank you, Taryn. Yes, I had misspoken. Yeah, the game is in Los Angeles tonight. I'm sorry. I had misspoken and said it was in Edmonton. But if you're the Kings, you're going back to crypto.com. You've got to make a statement in this game. You certainly don't want to be down going into the third period, but you've got to make a statement that you can play a complete game in this series and not let the Oilers back into this one. This is going to be a huge game tonight. Big stuff going on there. Edmonton at Los Angeles over the past few years has done very well in LA. So this is not uncharted territory for the Oilers. If you're the Oilers, you really got to feel like you're playing with house money. Meanwhile, that it's just everything's going your way. Life is going all right if you're the Oilers, and you've got to feel like you've got tons of momentum going into this one here tonight. The King, Darcy Kemper says they're confident going into the game tonight. We'll see, we'll see how that goes. We'll just see how that goes. If you're Los Angeles, if I'm LA, I'm feeling a bit nervous and worried heading into this one. Let's switch up gears now. Let's go over to another series that is actually just getting ready to wrap up here right now. They're getting later and later into the third period. Still tied at 4. The Hurricanes and the Devils tied at 4 apiece, 7.5 minutes left to go. Hurricanes are up in this series 3 games to 1. But they've had some trouble with their goaltending, with their net minding. Some rough injuries earlier in this series. Freddie Anderson got hurt in a bad way in game 4 of this series. The Hurricanes won the game, but it came at a big cost. Timo Meier just absolutely flattened Freddie Anderson. And it got brought up, and frankly, I agree with it, that I don't understand why a penalty wasn't called on the play. Meier was... Now, I want to preface that I don't think that Timo did anything deliberately. I don't think that he deliberately was trying to hurt Freddie Anderson. But still, he absolutely went into the blue paint and came in hard on Anderson when there was not a play to be made on the puck. It was just a bad hit, and it should have been a penalty, in my opinion. The puck had already well cleared the area. Meyer just couldn't stop himself. It absolutely should have been a penalty. So instead, the Hurricanes, they've gone tonight with the Hurricanes have gone with one of their backups. I'm making sure that I'm just getting my pronunciation correct here. So give me just a second while I make sure that I'm pronouncing everything correctly. Pyotr Kochetkov is in net tonight. Now he had plenty of time practicing and playing in the regular season. So it's not a complete blowout loss there, but it's still, you never want to have to go to your backup goalie in the playoffs. And a rough start tonight, giving up 3 goals in the first period, then giving up a 4th in the second period. Now, the Hurricanes have done a great job of getting back into this tonight. So with 5 minutes to go in regulation, it is tied at 4. It's nice having guys like Sebastian Aho on your team so that you can feel okay after giving up a couple of goals early on. But you don't want to be without Freddie Anderson for very long if you're Carolina. So not great. Not a great thing there for Carolina. Still got 5 minutes left to go in regulation in that game. They very possibly could knock the Devils out in that. Otherwise, they'll have another opportunity later this week back up in New Jersey, and we'll see how that goes. One other one to talk about from this first round, and then we'll take ourselves a quick little break here. And that is the Toronto Maple Leafs. Now, their game went final tonight already, so we somewhat have the answer to this question already. Can Toronto close out Ottawa? Not tonight, they can't. Not tonight, they won't. Hold everything. A rough one tonight for the Toronto Maple Leafs, as it has gone final 4-0. Ottawa over Toronto in Toronto. So the Maple Leafs woes in the first round continue. Toronto was up fairly handily in this series, 3-0. Game 4 went to overtime. Now game 5, you're Toronto, you get shut out. Game 6 is scheduled for Thursday. It's going to be 7:00 Eastern time, but it's back in Ottawa. Toronto, absolutely. You're feeling the pressure. You're going to be struggling after this one, especially you outshot Ottawa 27-19. No penalty. Neither team scored in the power play. Toronto had more chances, though. 3 power play attempts to just 2 for Ottawa. It was 1-0 after 2. Now, again, to be completely fair and completely transparent to everybody involved, Stolars only gave up 2 goals. Two of the goals that Ottawa got in the third period were empty net goals. But still, for years, it's always been, what's Toronto's toughest opponent? Well, the first round. And they got out of it last year. You're having troubles with it again, though, this year. Not going to be able to close out Ottawa tonight. You're going back to Ottawa on Thursday. Momentum seems to have shifted in this series. If you're the Maple Leafs, you're definitely going in with a little bit more pressure, going in with a little more worry as you're heading into this series, certainly for Toronto. All right, we're going to take for ourselves a quick break, and then we've got some non-playoff hockey stuff to talk about as well. The Pittsburgh Penguins have joined the ranks of 6 other NHL teams in that they need a new head coach. We will discuss Mike Sullivan and the rest of the Pittsburgh Penguins next here on the Neutral Zone on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be right back after this.
Are you a Tar Heel, Blue Devil, Demon Deacon, or maybe even a Gamecock? Do you cheer for the Panthers, the Canes, the Crown? And check out the Carolina Sports Update every week with me, Neil Curtis, to get the latest and greatest on all the sports action in the Carolinas. We'll be talking pro sports, ACC and SEC football, basketball, baseball, and everything in between. We'll even talk a little Formula One racing now and again. So, for the best hour of Carolina sports coverage, catch me each week on Carolina Sports Updates with Neil Curtis, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph DeLeese, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate, diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold. Have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph DeLeese, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Welcome back into to the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick back with you here. So we got you caught up on everything going on the ice tonight in the NHL and some of the storylines going on there. Now let's talk about one going on with a team that is not in the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Penguins have decided to move on from head coach Mike Sullivan. That they did not fire him. The decision was the classic that is done with veteran coaches, that both the organization and the coach mutually decided to part ways. Kyle Dubas announced yesterday afternoon that he and Mike Sullivan mutually agreed to part ways. Sullivan had been the head coach for the team since December of 2015, so nearly a decade behind the bench for the Penguins. Of course, he had come up from their American Hockey League associate, Wilkes-Barre Scranton, a 2 Stanley Cup championships, leaves as the Penguins' all-time winningest coach in franchise history, 409, 255, and 89. And at the same time, though, it felt like this was a decision that maybe the Penguins should have made a season ago. When the news broke, I commented to Ralph Calise. We were talking in the network. We were talking on the station about it, and I said this feels to me like it's a day late and $1 short for the Penguins. The Penguins finished well out of the playoffs this season. Well out of the playoff hunt this season. Didn't go very well last season. It feels like it's time. It's always hard when you've got a coach that's been there for a long time and immediately had success. His first 2 full seasons with the organization, they win Stanley Cup championships. That buys you a lot of time, that buys you a lot of credence, that buys you a lot of pistache with everybody. The front office, the fan base, ownership. You're able to, look at those pelts that I put on the wall. Look at those championship banners that I helped get us to right out of the gate. That can buy you a lot of time and a lot of goodwill with an organization. And that can make it very difficult to make the decision to move on. But to me, this felt like absolutely the right decision for both the organization and the coach, that you needed to move on. You needed to do something. So who could be next? What could be next for the Pittsburgh Penguins? You've got a couple of options. Zach and I talk about it all the time in the NHL, that there's always retreads. There's always that coach that has been there, that it's all right. We can, he's been there, done that. Let's bring him back in. We can make this work. We can make great things happen with this guy. Along those lines, the hot names going around the cycle right now are Joe Quenneville. He is free to look for jobs again in the NHL. He had his suspension lifted almost a year ago, so he's free to look for jobs. Won 3 Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks. That was a decade. The last of those was a decade ago. Just as Sullivan was starting in Pittsburgh. Do you really want to go that route if you're the Penguins? Peter Laviolette, he was the Rangers head coach. He got let go at the end of the regular season after just a catastrophic year for the Rangers. He'd had some success. He's had some success though. You're talking almost 850 wins all time for a head coach. That, you'll take that. He's won the Stanley Cup. He has some experience also in the Pittsburgh organization. He at one time was their East Coast Hockey League head coach. So you've got a little bit of familiarity there. And that was a long time ago. And then of course, John Tortorella, who hasn't Tortorella coached seemingly at this point. almost 800 career victories. He almost made it to April before getting let go in Philly. Obviously, you've got some things there, but he has won the Stanley Cup. He's been coach of the year. He's had some of those accolades. Those are the obvious names that come up. One name that has been mentioned along with them that I think could be a very interesting, and I'd love to see it just because it's great to get some some new blood in there. David Carl. He's only 35. He's currently the head coach at Denver University. He's had a lot of success there. Won a couple national championships, been to the Frozen Four multiple times, 4 times. He's also led the U.S. national team most recently at the World Juniors this year, led them to the gold event in World Juniors a year ago. That would be an interesting name to me. If for no other reason, it's some fresh blood. He doesn't necessarily have a connection with a lot of the current Penguins guys, but that could be a really intriguing option for the Penguins in this. The Penguins are now there's now 7 teams in the NHL that are all without head coaches. I'm just pulling up the list. I'm pulling up the list right now to make sure that I get everybody on the list here, so that I make sure that I'm being accurate. But I do know it's 7. You're now talking Pittsburgh, the Rangers, the Flyers, the Vancouver Canucks aren't going to be bringing their head coach back. An interesting decision. The Anaheim Ducks, the Boston Bruins, and the Chicago Blackhawks are the 7 teams. We'll see. Oh, and also the Seattle Kraken. So we've got 7. Basically a quarter of the NHL currently has a head coaching vacancy. We might see some of these get filled before the Stanley Cup final. It might wait till after. We'll see how it goes, but certainly here then in the next month to 6 weeks as we wrap up April and we get into June, gonna be a lot of news on that front. Speaking of Seattle, there's going to be another head coaching job become available out west as well. The PWHL is set to have another announcement tomorrow. We are going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, let's talk PWHL hockey a little bit. They're finishing up their regular season, but they're also expanding. Lots to go on there in the professional women's game. This is the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back after this.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on The Defining Moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Are you a fan of Minnesota sports? Do you love the Vikings and hate the Packers? Are you a fan of the Timberwolves, Twins, Wild, Lynx, St. Paul Saints? Here on the Bold North Breakdown, we'll talk about all of those professional teams as well as all the college teams in the area. That's your basketball teams, football, hockey, volleyball, men's and women's sports alike. We talk about them all. Here on the Bold North Breakdown. Join me, your host, Glenn Ritter, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central to discuss all that is happening in the Minnesota sports scene. Here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into the Neutral Zone here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick here with you for just a little bit more as we round out our show here tonight. A lot of NHL stuff to go on, but we don't want to forget about the PWHL as well, as they are also wrapping up their regular season. They close out this Saturday. Everybody's down to, at most, just a couple of games left to be played. Toronto defeated New York earlier tonight in a shootout. Now, Toronto had already clinched a playoff spot. We've got a couple of playoff seats clinched in the PWHL. We've got one team eliminated. So we've got 3 teams vying for 2 remaining spots. Big game in the PWHL coming up tomorrow as Minnesota takes on Ottawa. As we sit here in the standings right now, the defending champions would be out if the season ended tonight. But they are somewhat in control of their own destiny, because Ottawa would be the last team in. So Ottawa is clinging on there at number 4, while Minnesota is hanging out at that 5th spot, that first team out spot. Minnesota is 4 points out of the final playoff spot. But remember, in the PWHL, they do the scoring differently from the NHL. You can get 3 points in one game. If you win in regulation, you get 3 points. So for Minnesota, a win tomorrow night in regulation out in Ottawa is absolutely massive for the Frost, as that would pull them to within a point of Ottawa. And then basically on Saturday then against Boston, Minnesota with any kind of win pretty much would be in. The Frost would pretty much be in with a win, would be in control of its own destiny somewhat. If they can get certainly regulation wins tomorrow and Saturday in Ottawa and in Boston, then you'd have to think that the Frost's chances of getting into the playoffs are pretty darn good. Meanwhile, if you're Ottawa, you're of course you're taking on Minnesota tomorrow. They then turn around and will play Toronto in Toronto on Saturday. Toronto's already in. So Ottawa, you can withstand a loss a little bit here. A regulation win against Toronto helps your chances. For Boston, meanwhile, the other team still alive here. Absolutely, Boston, you're in control of your own destiny. You're playing Minnesota. If you beat Minnesota, you're feeling good. Even with just 2 points, you're feeling good about that one. A loss, that could be something. So lots of intrigue and tight races going in here in the final week of the PWHL. Meanwhile, Montreal and Toronto, 2 of the 3 Canadian teams, we know that they are in. We know that they are safe. The Victory of Montreal, they are currently the top seed in the PWHL. Their final game is against New York on Saturday. New York is the one team that is eliminated, so there won't be a whole lot going on there. Montreal, a win would assure the victory of the number 1 overall spot in the PWHL playoffs, though frankly a point of any kind, and they're assured of that. They even an overtime loss and they'll be the top spot. So for Montreal, there's a little bit there to play for. New York, absolutely nothing to play for. The Sirens just 8 wins on the season. 8 regulation wins, 4 overtime wins, 12 regulation losses for the Sirens. That's the rough one there. 12 regulation losses, really hurting them there. So only getting points in 17 of their 29 games to this point. But the other big news for the PWHL, as I see that Zach Puplis has joined us. Hello, Zach. How are you?
Hello. I'm good, Adam. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I was getting everybody caught up on everything happening in the PWHL, all the current standings and the playoff stuff going on there. I like the glasses, by the way.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
And but we've got news on the expansion front in the PWHL as well. So a couple weeks ago,
we do.
We talked about how Vancouver is going to be the 7th city. We have the 8th city, and it's a city that you and I are very familiar with and very comfortable with. A drum roll, please.
Is it Seattle?
It is, in fact, Seattle. Seattle is going to be the 8th. We are expecting. Now it'll become official tomorrow, but we are expecting that all signs are pointing to Seattle being named as the 8th team in the PWHL.
Very cool.
So Seattle joining the market there.
Excellent. Yeah, I saw that they had done Vancouver and the second one was on its way, but wasn't sure exactly which one that was going to be.
Yep. Well, you and I had talked previously when we've talked about the PWHL that, all right, if you want to expand all the way out west, that's fine, but you're going to have to do something to make it kind of worth your time. Otherwise, you're talking otherwise your furthest west city is Minneapolis and Minnesota. Otherwise, everybody's on the East Coast in this league. So it makes sense that if you're adding Vancouver, that you also turn around and add another West Coast city out here in this as well. As it looks like Zach is frozen up a little bit. So we'll give him a minute to get unfrozen and come back with us there. So Seattle will be the 8th PWHL team. The Vancouver team is set to, as I get my notes up, Vancouver is set to begin play in this upcoming season for so we had talked about it a little bit last week, but it wasn't very much like how we'll talk about Seattle almost certainly next week as well. Vancouver at the time last week when we brought it up wasn't official, so we didn't have a lot of details for the team. We now do know that PWHL Vancouver, it does not have a nickname yet. However, they have sold out of premium membership deposits, premium membership spots. premium. A bunch of those are sold out. Season ticket. There is a list for being a season ticket holder in Vancouver. They are set to begin play this upcoming season, the 25-26 season. They will play at Pacific Coliseum. And so good things coming there from Vancouver. So the PWHL expanding there. We'll see what more details we'll have tomorrow, as we expect the announcement to be that Seattle will be the 8th city to join the PWHL. That's going to do it for our show here this evening. Big shout outs and thank yous to each one of our sponsors here. Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Thank you also to Vital Apparel, the brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Go to vitalapparel.com, use the promo code IESR with 15% off of your order. Thank you also to Seal the Deal Wax Steels. Go to iesportsradio.com/Seal the Deal Wax Steels to place your orders. Anything that you're posting out, make sure that it just got your official seal of approval on there. And of course, thank you to IE Sports Radio for providing the platform for this show and all the shows across the network. Thank you to Larry B, the czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio. Appreciate all the work you do behind the scenes, current technical unnoticed, or unappreciated. Thank you also to all 250 people that joined the show here tonight, watching live across YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Appreciate that. Thank you also to Karen Rodriguez and Glenn Ritter for hanging out with us in the chat room here tonight. Zach, sorry that it was kind of short for you tonight. I'm glad you were able to pop in for a little bit that you were.
That's what they happen to happen. It's like the lamp.
Exactly. It's like that lamp. Next week, we'll see if any of these first-round series, if Toronto can figure out how to win an elimination game. We'll see if anybody can figure out how to play goalie in either New Jersey or Carolina. We'll also see if Los Angeles ever remembers that a game is 15-1 and not 40. Until then, he is Zach Buckles. I am Adam Krennick. Between the two of us, we do this exact thing called the Neutral Zone every week on Tuesday night. Until next week, we will see you then. Have a great night, everybody.